accuracy in the media has been a stalwart of an ally. Without them, I don't know what many people in the country would do, because we need AIM to point out the bias that they have and that they've done so well. And I just want to mention briefly, and this got me into trouble several years ago, when I said publicly that I thought the greatest threat to the United States of America was a biased media. People could not believe I actually said that. But I want to explain why, and why I've never backed off of frankly, that observation. And the reason I think that a biased liberal media is the greatest threat to our country is because we rely upon the media to give us the facts. But if the American people don't get their facts, we lose our democracy. We rely upon the media to tell us what the facts are, and if they don't give us the facts, the American people can't make good decisions, and if the American people can't make good decisions, that's when we lose our form of democracy. And so that's why I think, frankly, liberal media bias is inimical to a democratic government. And when I talk about media bias, we're not alone. You may have seen the most recent poll. The distrust of the national media is now at an all-time high. 30% of the American people don't trust the media, and twice as many people think the problem is the media bias being liberal, not the media bias being conservative. So even with all the media bias that we encounter every day, even with day after day, night after night of media bias, the American people, at least to some extent, are seeing through that and realizing that the media is biased more liberally than conservatively by a 2-to-1 margin. So we have that with us. Don was nice enough to mention the Media Fairness Caucus that I started 6 years ago. And by the way, we started the caucus only with the view of trying to remind the media of their incredible responsibility to our people. We started the Media Fairness Caucus not to condemn the media, but just simply to hold them to the highest standards possible. And when we do that in any number of ways. I give speeches on the House floor. We have a bi-weekly newsletter that we put out with the examples of media bias over the last 2 weeks. And then we have a website, my own website, that people can go to see the newsletters or to get more information about media bias. And by the way, when I talk about the national liberal media, I intentionally do not use the word mainstream media. I think we ought to call them out as liberal, not mainstream. Mainstream somehow implies that the national media represents a majority of the American people. In my view, they do not. So let's call them liberal, not progressive, which has positive connotations, and not mainstream, which is inaccurate. So let's call the national media the liberal national media, not all of them, but many of them, and remind of them their awesome responsibility to give the American people the facts, not tell the American people what to think. And that's our refrain. That's our refrain when it comes to what we do at the Media Fairness Caucus is we say to the national media, give the American people the facts, don't tell them what to think. And that's, I would guess, a 90%er with the American people. Who's going to disagree with that? So anyway, that's what we've been doing, and I appreciate this award from AIM very, very much. It will be an incentive. I call this positive reinforcement for what we've been doing and will continue to do. But really, thanks to Don, Roger, and all the rest at AIM for all they do every single day to try to remind the American people that the media is not objective, is not biased as they ought to be. And we need to, frankly, engage the American people, and that's what AIM does so well, and that's what I'm trying to do too. When I say engage the American people, engage the media consumers, you know, we have at our disposal today, we have the internet, we have social media. We can get the word out far better now than we have been able to in past years. And so let's take advantage of all that. And also just, frankly, writing letters to the editor, writing letters to producers. A couple of years ago, I counted the number of letters to the editor that I wrote over a 2-year period of time. It was 150. Anytime I see an inaccuracy, anytime I see a bias that has anything to do with Congress or my jurisdiction as the chairman of the Science Committee today and the Judiciary Committee 2 Congresses ago, I write a letter to the editor, and I think that should be our standard as well. Don't let any inaccuracy go unanswered. And if we can engage, I say, the American people and get them to help us do that, we're going to be doing the greatest favor we possibly can for our country and for our democracy.